guys, and welcome back to another of my YouTube videos. If you're new here, you're very welcome. My name's Laura, and this video is all about my top tips and advice on the day of you sitting your UCAT. So these are my top tips that I wish I had known in advance of me sitting the UCAT, and hopefully by sharing these with you, it will give you the confidence that you'll need to go in and pull out great scores in your actual UCAT exam. So my top tip number one is stay calm. Yes, you'll feel nervous because you want to do your best, but it's really important that you can focus and avoid any distractions on the day of your UCAT. By being able to manage your stress levels and keep your nerves to a minimum, you'll be able to have a much better experience of the UCAT and to also feel confident through each section. To keep your stress levels under control, make sure to follow some of the top tips that I'll talk about in this video, as these really helped me be able to keep my nerves under control and to do well in the UCAT itself. So my second top tip, and one that I think is quite important, is that you have eaten and drunk something before you sit the UCAT. I'd suggest doing this a couple of hours before you sit the UCAT so that you're well hydrated and fueled throughout the 2-hour exam. You want to keep your energy levels up throughout the exam, and you also want to maintain focus and concentration, so do make sure to eat and drink something before you do your UCAT. My top tip number 3 is to make sure that you've planned your journey in advance and that you're aware of where the test centre is and how you're going to get there. Remember, you'll need to arrive at your test centre roughly 15 to 20 minutes before you sit your real UCAT, so do include this in your journey. So my top tip number 4 is to remember your ID documentation. There are so many people each year that forget their ID, and unfortunately without it you will not be able to sit your UCAT. You can use things like passports or driving licenses, and if you want to find out what other forms of ID they accept, check the links down below to the website to the UCAT to check for your identification documents. Think about what you're going to wear on the day of the test, as it can get really warm in the test centre, so it's a good idea to have a couple of layers so that you don't overheat and get distracted because you're so warm and flustered. So once you're in the test centre and you've handed over your forms of ID and they've checked through all of that, you'll then be asked to stare into a webcam and get a photo taken. Mine looked nothing like me, but don't worry, it's just so that they can prove that you were the person sitting at the computer doing the UCAT if anything was to go wrong. After this, you'll be then shown to a locker and given a key, and this is to store all your valuables in. They don't let you bring anything into the exam with you, so make sure that you put everything into the locker. This includes any form of notes or ID documents and things like your phone and water bottles as well. Remember to check your pockets for any form of paper or notes, or even things like chewing gum. Definitely check for bus tickets or train tickets because they are really hot on people trying to cheat and bring things into the exam with them. And you would hate to be stopped from sitting the UCAT just because you had a bus ticket in your pocket. They'll then ask you to roll up your sleeves to prove that you've got no writing on your arms or on your hands, and they'll also ask you to turn out your pockets in front of them. So another thing to be aware of is that they'll run through a couple of pieces of info with you, just the rules and regulations and what to do if you get stuck during the UCAT. At this point, you probably will be feeling quite nervous, but please don't let them get the better of you because it really can reduce your focus and distract you during the verbal reasoning section and the rest of your UCAT. You'll then be shown where you'll be sitting and what computer you'll be at. So take time to focus and calm your nerves whenever you sit down at your seat. You don't have to start straight away, so take a couple of minutes and some deep breaths before you start. Another top tip is to put on the headphones. I didn't do this and really regretted not doing it because it blocks out a lot of the background noise and distractions that are going on around you when you're sitting your UCAT. So do put headphones on. Also, before you start, check your whiteboard pen and marker are working and that you'll be able to use them in the exam. Once you're ready to start, all you have to do is follow the instructions on the screen. So my top tips for when you're actually doing the UCAT for real are to use the keyboard shortcuts that I've talked about in all my other videos. These are really important and will really help you do things like flagging questions, moving on to the next question, and also being able to bring up the calculator quickly. If you're struggling with any of the keyboard shortcuts or would like more advice, do check out my video all about keyboard shortcuts for the UCAT. Another top tip of mine when sitting the UCAT is to make sure that you're not wasting time reading a lot of irrelevant information. In the verbal reasoning section in particular, look for key words in the passage. It will really speed up your timings and help you pull out good scores in the verbal reasoning section. You will be nervous in the verbal reasoning section purely because you're starting the exam and your adrenaline will be quite high. But don't let this put you off, and do keep focused and look for keywords throughout the paragraph. In sections like the quantitative reasoning, do check for outliers in the answers before jumping in and trying to answer the question yourself. It can eliminate a couple of impossible answers very quickly, and if you are struggling, can also help point out which ones potentially could be the correct answer. This will speed up your timings and reduce your stress. It will also give you a better chance of getting the right answer. Another top tip of mine is never leave a question blank. It is so important to answer every question you can on the UCAT. You've got a roughly 1 in 4 chance of getting it right, and there is no negative marking. Therefore, it is way more beneficial to put down a random answer rather than leave it entirely blank. A really important top tip and thing to remember is that each question in a section is worth the same number of marks. So if you're really struggling on one question, don't spend a long time on it. Do guess it and move on to the next question, because the more questions you can get done, the better. Another top tip, remember to use the guess, flag and skip method. I've talked about this in a lot of my other videos, so do check them out if you want more info, but it basically means that if you're struggling, you should guess an answer, then flag it using the flag icon at the bottom of the screen, and then skip on to the next question to speed up time and boost your scores in each section of the UCAT. Another top tip when sitting the exam for real is to really double check for units. It's super important that you don't get misled in a question or put the wrong answer based on the units that you missed out. You will find the UCAT goes quite quickly purely because you are so engrossed in what you're doing. So do double check the clock as you're going through each section so that you're not missing seconds and the clock's counting down without you even noticing. Another really vital top tip and thing that you should be aware of is that once you've started the test, the timer starts counting down and it cannot be paused. So once you've finished the UCAT and walked out of the room, you'll then just hand over the headphones and anything else like your whiteboard and marker, and then you'll go back to the reception desk where you first came into. You can collect all your things from your locker, and then you'll sit and wait for a couple of minutes before your name gets called for your results to be given to you. This can be quite a nerve-wracking part of the process as you're given your results there and then. Some students choose to open their results there and then, and others choose to bring it with them and open it in private. Either way works fine, and your results will be sent to the universities regardless, so don't panic about when you choose to open your results. Remember, you should be really proud with how you've done once you've completed the UCAT. Regardless of your scores, it is an amazing achievement to have the UCAT over and done with. So go home and celebrate and enjoy the freedom of having the UCAT over and done with. So I hope these top tips and advice have been useful and given you more of an idea of what to expect on the day of your actual UCAT. It can be daunting, but I hope you'll be able to pick up on the things that I've talked about and put them into practice to see great scores coming out from your UCAT. Best of luck, and if you are struggling with anything that I've mentioned in the video, or you'd like more advice on how to do the UCAT, do check out the rest of my videos from each section of the UCAT to the mistakes that I made whenever I was practicing and preparing for the UCAT. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below to keep you up to date with all my new content and videos that I'll be posting to help you on your application process to medical school. If you found this video useful, please give it a like down below, and also check out my Instagram and Reddit community for lots more information, tips and advice. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!